Hey everyone, my name is Armelin Matson and I'll be going through the Work Task and Work Task Services Perceptive apps. We'll be going through the purpose of these apps, how to access them, a full demo of this application, and reference materials. So what's the purpose of these apps? They're geared towards service technicians, and service technicians need to see a list of their work task details, they need to log time and comments, and finally they need to complete their task. Does this process sound familiar? Does this look familiar? How about this? Or this? So why should you use these UX apps instead of classic TRIRIGA or TRIRIGA Anywhere? Work task management isn't new to TRIRIGA, but these apps are. They're designed for a focused user experience and workflow with a cleaner UI. Its responsive design allows for use on desktop and mobile devices. Third-party installations are not necessary, just open the app in your browser. It uses your work task records and your existing processes. And last but not least, we've leveraged the Service Worker API to bring offline capabilities to this app in your browser. So you're probably wondering, why are there two apps? Work Task Services and Work Task. Work Task Services is a portal for service technicians to manage their work tasks with easy access to service request and locate apps. All Work Task app features are included in Work Task Services. Bottom line came down to a technical decision. We hoped by separating the technician portal and the app, we can possibly include the Work Task app in future portals, like one for service managers or more. Chances are you'll be using this one. You can access these apps on your browser at p/web/worktaskservices and p/web/worktask on your TRIRIGA environment. Although these apps are geared towards service technicians, Service Manager and external service provider security groups also have full access to these apps. Now we move on to our demo, and trust me, we've got a lot of features to cover. We'll be going over Work Task Services portal links, the work task list, and creating a work task. The bulk of a service technician's work will be in the Work Task Details page. We'll go over changing task priority, logging time entries, viewing requests, locations, and assets, completing procedures, logging materials, viewing assigned people, adding comments and/or photos, and a small screen view of the app. We'll also go into offline mode. We'll take a look at offline status page, a successful data sync, handling data sync failures, and offline mode limitations. Lastly, we'll go over work task actions, holding and completing a work task. So for this demo, we'll be using the Work Task Services app. So just to note, as we go through this demo, you might not see typical work task data that you would see on the field as a service technician. So a lot of data that we have are dummy or test data, and it's used solely for demo purposes. So first, I wanted to point out this bar at the top, the portal links bar. It's got create task, create service request, and locate links. So this bar is the main difference between work task services and work task apps. So let me jump real quick to the work task app. So notice that the bar is no longer there, and the only action that you can take on this page is the new task, creating a new task. So let's go back to work task services. So we'll go into creating a work task in a bit, but I wanted to talk about creating a service request. So clicking on this link will bring you to the service request app. The service request app is not new. It was released in 10.5.3, and all it does is it gives the opportunity for a service technician to create a service request that will then generate a work task. So just talking ahead, when you create a work task through this application, it'll automatically assign it to you. But if you are not able to fix this work task that you've added, we highly recommend creating a service request for it so that it can go through the proper channels of the service assignment matrix so that it'll be given to the correct work group or to the correct technician. So I'm not going to go through the ins and outs of service requests, but I will go ahead and create one right here. So I'll put in equipment for a problem category, and we'll put in laptop. This is a test. And we can go ahead and submit this. So my request has been submitted, and when I close this, it'll actually bring me back to the Work Task Services app. So if you wanted to see these requests, you can see them in your classic TRIRIGA portal, or you can go to p/web/service request, and you'll find your in progress requests there. So moving on to the next portal link, we've got the locate link. So this brings us to the locate app. The locate app was released the same time Work Task Services and Work Task was released, and there is a separate session that goes over the ins and outs of this locate app, but it's pretty straightforward. It allows the service technician to look for a specific person or look for a specific room. So clicking on the home button will actually bring you back to the Work Task Services app instead of the locate app. So while we're on this page, I wanted to talk about the My Work Tasks list. So all the work tasks that you'll see in this app will either be assigned to you specifically or assigned to your team or your work group. So the first bucket here is in progress work tasks, and these are work tasks that have been assigned to you and are either in active or hold status. Right now we're in the table view, which is a lot easier when you're in a large screen. It gives you a better picture, but you can also go through our card view. You can sort by priority, location, plan start, status, and type. So you can do this both in ascending or descending order. You've also got a search bar here, and it searches on any of the columns that you see here. So I could look for anything that has SL test building, or I could look for a specific one with an ID, and it'll filter it real time. Another thing that we've added is this filter bar. So you've got all of your work tasks here. This filters down to just corrective maintenance work tasks. This filters down to just preventive maintenance work tasks. And this filters down to any task that you've created that's in progress. So the next tab is the completed tab. So these are all the work tasks that have been completed and have not yet been closed. A lot of these work tasks can still be edited. So if you needed to put in a time entry or you needed to add a material that you had forgotten, you can do that here. The next tab is the draft tab. So right now I've only got one draft tab, and it's ACM Work Task Procedures demo. So we'll go over this draft tab when we go over the Create Task feature, and this ACM Work Task Procedures demo when we demo procedures. Next is the Unassigned tab. So currently my user is assigned to a work group, and these are the various work tasks that have been assigned to that work group. So I can actually come in here and click on any of these and say, I want to accept this work task. And it'll immediately go into my in progress queue. Lastly, we've got our closed work tasks. So our closed work tasks are so closed is in red, and this means that it's read only. And these are just historical work tasks that you can reference. So you can't make any changes, and this is just the resolved version of a work task. Something to note as well, we've got the state here, and you can actually start and stop your timer for a given work task. So right now, and this button also indicates whether it's being worked on, if time is being logged or not. So here we've got this one work task, and it's allowing us to stop it. So we've indicate so it was running, and now we've stopped it, and it's created a time entry for us. That's a time entry that was created. So I wanted to show you guys a preview of how this might look like on a smaller device. So I've opened Chrome Web Dev Tools, and we're showing the app in an iPhone 6 Plus view. So we've still got our tabs, we've still got our search box. Our filters are defined in this menu, and so are our sorts. Right now, we don't have the option to show any of our work tasks in table view, and it's only in card layout because we've had a limited real estate. At the bottom, we've got our portal links. If I switch to landscape view, depending on your phone, you may or may not see an option for table layout, but again, it depends on the dimensions of your phone. So now we'll go over creating a work task. So we'll start with a brief but descriptive name. So notice that it's assigned to me. Any work task that's been created through this app will automatically be assigned to the currently logged in user. So if you know specifically who to assign this work task to, I would recommend creating it and then talking to your service manager to reassign it. Or if you have no idea and it's outside of your purview, I would recommend creating a service request and having that service request generate a work task that will then go through the servant assignment matrix to make sure that it goes through the proper group or the proper technician. Here we can set the priority, choose a building, a floor, and a room. We can set the request class and the service class. Add a description, and we have the option to upload a comment or a photo. Let's add a photo. We'll choose this leaky faucet picture. We'll hit post, and then we'll go ahead and hit submit. So this will immediately go into the draft. And notice that it's in in progress, and it's red. The status is red because you cannot make changes to it. It's read only. So once it's done being in this review in progress state, eventually it'll make it to in progress. Now it appears at the bottom of our in progress list. So let's go back to that new work task page. So if I make any changes here, so let's say I change a name or I add a request class or a service class, anything new that goes on this page, a draft is automatically created. So if I navigate away from that page, you'll notice that Armelin test is now in draft, and I can revisit it. So from here, I can continue on and submit, or I could delete. And let's choose to delete this draft. You can also delete drafts from the draft list. Now let's go over work task details. So at the top, we've got a bunch of information like task ID, name, type, status, and priority. Priority is editable. We've also got primary location information, classification information, description, and a name and a phone number. So this name and phone number is actually the requesters. So this work task was generated through a service request, and this was the requester's name and contact info, just in case the service technician needed to get more information or get some follow-up instructions. So clicking on this link will actually open the phone app, whether it be on desktop or on a mobile device, and call this phone number. Something to note as well, this description came from this service request. So let's take a look at logging time. We've got some information here: planned start, planned end, total work duration, and a start timer. We've also got a time log with one entry in it. There are two ways to log time. One is using this timer. Clicking on it will automatically create a new time entry, and stopping the timer will automatically populate the end date, end time, and calculate the duration for that time entry. The other way to log time is through this plus button. I can say that I worked for 1 hour and it automatically calculates my end time. I can also edit my start time. I can manually edit my stop time as well. I can add comments. Hit done. So clicking on any of this will allow me to edit this as well. So let's say that I didn't actually just work 7 seconds on this work task, and I'll bump it up to 15 minutes. I can also delete time entries. So something to note: I'm currently the only one who's logged time for this work task, but there are two people assigned to this work task. If the other person starts logging time, I will actually see their time entries here as well, but I won't be able to add any time entries for them. I won't be able to edit or delete their time entries. Now let's take a look at requests. So clicking on this will actually bring me to the service request app and show me the details for that request. I can take a look at any photos, anything in the conversation as well. I can leave messages here as well. Let's go back to the Work Task Services app. So because this was generated through a service request, this work task has a request attached to it. Not all work tasks have this. So let's take a look at this work task. Notice that there's no request for this one. So moving on to locations. There are two locations for this work task: a primary location and additional location. Let's click on it for more information. So we've got a floor plan for this location. And notice that there's also this button at the top. Clicking on this will actually give me driving instructions via Google Maps to my next work task location. As you can see, it's kind of far, but typically a service technician will be in the same city that they'll be doing work in. So let's go back. Here, so there aren't floor plans available for all floors. It's just how your system is configured. But again, same features here as well. Now let's take a look at assets. So there are two assets for this work task. We've got asset details, and it gives us a bunch of information like a description and spec information and asset status. This also has a floor plan tab, but as you can see, this doesn't have any floor plan available. Directions are also available for assets, but if there's no location specified for that asset, it won't show. So here we've got a floor plan, and here we've got that icon enabled. For procedures, I wanted to take a look at a different work task. Remember this one? So I've just opened that same work task on Classic TRIRIGA. I wanted to point out a few details, and I wanted to also go through some of the procedures changes that we've made, enhancements to the procedures process. But before we go through that procedures process, I wanted to go through some details that I needed to point out. So note that this work task is in draft state. It's got one primary location. It's got two assets assigned to it and one other additional location. So now looking at this procedures tab, this procedures section is not new, but these active task procedure steps and completed task procedure steps are. So the enhancement, the gist of the enhancement that we did was we've always had procedures linked to work tasks, but they were never actionable. So now with these enhancements, we're able to actually copy those procedures into a work task and have those instances marked off as um, completed or not. And we needed to do this for the Classic app so that we can fulfill the functionality in our Perceptive app. So let's look at these procedures. We've got three, one per asset, one per task, and one per location. So this procedure record looks familiar. The only change that we've made here is this procedure rule, per asset, per location, and per task. So this means per asset associated to that work task, create an instance of the procedure steps for this procedure. Same goes for the location and for task. So I noted earlier that this work task is in draft mode. We've got two locations, we've got two assets. Now in theory, when I hit activate, this should create the task procedure steps for this work task. So let's do that now. So now our work task has come from draft mode to review in progress and now is in the active state. Notice that the active task procedure steps have been populated. Now let's go back to our app. So now that we've activated that work task, it's in our in progress queue. So let's verify a few things. We've got active status, two locations, two assets, and 5 procedures. In this section, we can search for procedures by keyword and filter by asset, location, or task type. So let's take a look. Here we see more information about the work procedure, and it also shows the relevant asset or location. Here we've got related documents, and these documents are usually manuals or checklists or images that's helpful for the service technician. Clicking on them will download it to your device. More importantly, we've got our procedure steps. You can filter them by incomplete or complete status. You can also optionally hide optional steps. So let's go through our first step. So we've got to make sure that the air conditioner works and give a reading of what the temperature is. Let's put in the comments, needs air filter changed soon, and hit complete. So since that's the only one required, I can hit done, and this whole procedure is finished. So moving on to the next one. So this is the same procedure, but for a different asset. It's got the same related documents. Here is it's a different procedure name here. So for procedure steps, notice that I can't complete without putting in a reading. So I'll put in that reading and hit complete. Moving on. So now for our location procedure. So it looks like I need to check if there's a fire extinguisher here, and I can hit yes. Now moving on to the next location procedure, but for the other location. So I wanted to point out here, we've got an optional step. So if I complete an optional step, this is how the progress gauge looks like. I can also complete the required step, and this is how it's going to look like. I'll hit done. So last but not least, we'll do the task procedure. So we'll put in a reading for this and hit complete. I'll go ahead and put another reading for this and hit complete. And then here, I'll add in a comment. And I'll hit done. So now all the procedures are done. And in theory, I can complete this work task, but we'll get to that in a bit. So going back to our other work task, I wanted to go through the last 3 sections. So we'll be adding materials. So I just want to note that these materials actually do not tie into the TRIRIGA inventory system, and they're more ad hoc. So here we'll put in nails, say that we've used 5. Choose a unit. Cost per unit is a negligible 10 cents. Estimated cost is calculated, and I'll also put in actual cost 50 cents. So I'll hit done. So it adds it here in our materials list. I can add more. Just test data. I can also go back and edit. And I can also delete. Moving on to assign people section. Here we are allowed to just view these assigned people. This does not have the capability to assign new people to this work task, but this is just more information so that you can contact them and know more about them. Lastly, we've got our comments and photos. So here we'll put in a test comment and post that. And we can also attach a photo. Hole patched. Hit post. So while we're on this page, I wanted to give you guys another small screen preview. So we've opened Chrome Web Dev Tools again and simulating a iPhone 6 Plus. So this is how it looks like. Our priority selector is now in a menu. Everything is just one column. Notice that our collapsible sections have now turned into pages. Any pop-ups that we saw earlier also turn into new pages. So things like adding a time entry, new page. Now let's go back to our work task list. I'll keep the Chrome Web Dev Tools open, but I'll keep it in non-mobile mode. So I'm going to refresh this page. I'm going to clear our network tab over here. And I want you guys to look carefully at some changes. Take a look at this. Now take a look at this. So for offline mode, as soon as you load this app, it actually downloads all the data into this browser and it caches it. You can check out the offline status here. So here it says offline feature is installed and when the last download was. So just to note, this only works, offline mode only works in secure HTTPS. So here I can download data and I'll basically recache all this data again. So let's see offline mode in action. So again, I'm going to use the Chrome Web Dev Tools to simulate offline. So right now it says I'm running in offline mode. So let's make some changes. So all this data is cached right now. So priority, let's change it to emergency. Let's add a time entry. 1 second. Hit done. And then we'll also add a material. And just for fun, let's add a photo. Let's put in that leaky faucet photo. So now, moment of truth. Right now we're running in offline mode. I'm going to uncheck this checkbox and simulate going back online. So I'll go back to my list. So notice that it says upload in progress. Here it says upload complete. Pending actions were uploaded. Application will be reloaded. We're downloading data again and recaching. So that was our happy path. But what happens when the data on the TRIRIGA server doesn't quite match up with the offline cache data? Let's find out. So here we'll take a look at this work task. And now we're going to go into offline mode. I've opened that same work task on Classic TRIRIGA. So right now I'm online. And right now the status is hold per requester. I'm going to hit resume. And I'm going to complete this work task. Now we're back on our work task app running in offline mode. And since we're offline, we don't know that this work task actually was completed on the TRIRIGA server side. So let's hit resume and see what happens. So as soon as we go online, we immediately get an upload error. And luckily for us, we know exactly what happened. We were trying to change the status of a work task from hold to active when it was already completed on the server side. So I have two options. I can skip this action or retry. So I know that retry won't work unless I put it back to that hold action. But for now, we're going to hit skip action. So it says here this pending action was skipped. And the whole app is reloaded again. Once the download is finished, we'll take a look at that work task. So I'll try and find that trash, and it's not in our in progress bucket, and it's because it's in our completed bucket. So right now we've got a completed work task. So it did sync successfully after we resolved that error. Offline mode does not come without limitations. We'll be going over them in the next 2 slides. Work Task Services and Work Task are the only apps so far that support offline mode. Although there are links to the Service Request and Locate app, they are not available offline. If you've got a large team or work group or have been at the service technician game for a while, chances are you've got a lot of work tasks under these tabs. For performance purposes, these 2 tabs are not available offline. Because the Service Request app does not support offline mode, viewing related requests for a given work task is also not supported. Floor plans for work task locations or assets are not supported. The pin icon for asset's primary location is not supported. Maps and directions are not supported offline only if the device has no network connectivity. Maps and directions will work offline if the device is not connected to the TRIRIGA server but has network connectivity. Logging in and out of the app is not supported. You cannot download data in offline mode. I also wanted to point out some key differences in creating a work task in offline mode as opposed to online. Work tasks are created as drafts so that the technician can go back and edit them when they gain connectivity. They can only submit work tasks online. Going back to our scenario of a service technician creating a work task, chances are he ran into an issue that he needed to log at the same building, floor, or room as a work task already assigned to him. Lookup data for buildings, floors, and rooms are only limited to ones that are associated to the work tasks of the current user. We limited this data for performance reasons. Lastly, only the building is required when specifying a location. So to end our demo, I wanted to go over work task actions. So we'll go back to our work task. There are 2 buttons here, 2 options. So we can put this work task on hold, hold for parts. So the status changed to hold for parts, and everything in this work task is still editable while this is on hold. I can continue my work by hitting resume. I can also hold per requester. The status changed. I'll go ahead and resume. And last but not least, I'm going to try and complete this work task. So I get this error. To complete this work task, you must first complete all of the required procedure steps. So there was one procedure for this. I'll go ahead and check mark that and hit done. And now I'll hit complete. So here we've got a resolution summary. So resolution summary is helpful for the requester to let them know that this is what we did and this is what happened and that the problem is resolved. So we'll hit complete. So the task was marked complete and it's no longer in our in progress bucket. And now it's in our completed bucket. So here's our completed task. We've got a new section here with resolution summary, and this is editable. We can also continue to add time entries after the fact, as well as materials and comments and photos. I also wanted to point out we never got to approve our offline test earlier for our happy path. Notice that the priority is now emergency. We've got 2 materials, one with offline test. We've also got another time entry, our Armelin test in offline mode. And we managed to get that leaky faucet picture in as well. So from here, we can reopen this work task or we can close it. So we'll just go through the whole work task lifecycle. We'll go and reopen and choose a reason, and this will bounce back to active. It'll go back to the in progress bucket. So again, let's complete it. We'll wait until it's completed. And now we can close it. So now our work task is in the closed bucket. Before we end this session, I wanted to go over reference materials. The first is a list of related sessions. There's an additional feature not included in this session concerning the Building Information Modeling or BIM views. Take a look at the BIM and Work Task session for more info. If you're interested in customizing either of these apps, check out our technical session. Feature-filled apps like these required new UX components. Learn more about them in the New UX Components session. Offline support is a huge milestone for TRIRIGA UX apps. Learn more on how this works in the UX offline support session. If you're not familiar with how work task management works in classic TRIRIGA, check out these great articles on Knowledge Center. On Developer Works, you'll find new wikis on both the work task services and work task apps. Lastly, connect with us on the IBM TRIRIGA UX Framework Forum and our IBM TRIRIGA Beta Slack.